Hello, and welcome to the Book by Book, a podcast about the odd book or two we've been reading. I'm your host Scott, but I'm not alone. Tobie's here with me. This episode we're talking about Banana Yoshimoto's Moshi Moshi. It's actually going to be pretty spoiler-free this episode, so if that's okay with you, continue on, and I'll see you on the other side.
Good name.
She's a Japanese author, and this is her, I don't know, she's written about 13, 14 books before, but she's pretty big on the short story circuit. Like a lot of her books are sort of three stories, three short stories. This one is a full one, about, in this edition, 200 pages.
Okay. How many have you read of hers?
I've lost count, 4 or 5 maybe.
Okay.
She doesn't have just one publisher when it comes to her UK work.
Right.
And as far as I can tell, there's a lot of stuff that's hard to find in English language or unpublished. So it's someone I always try and keep an eye out and just grab when I can. It seems like she has a few big ones, like her debut Kitchen, I think will always be in publication. But some of her stuff just seems rarer than others. So this book is about a character called Yoshi. She is, I'm guessing, early mid-20s. Within this, she's just moved into a Tokyo suburb. So she's in the city, and it's her first time away from home. And about a year ago, her dad died. And the family, it's her mum and her dad, and the dad died. He was a musician, and they're still kind of reeling over his death. So she gets a job as a little sous chef in a little restaurant, and there's a lot of it's a very descriptive book when it comes to locations, smells, textures, foods. You know, like it does a good job of describing like the narrow alleyways. So one day her mum just comes and says that she's going to live with her, even though she's in a small apartment, because she says the house is just too haunted by their dad who passed away. Something she does well, which she's done in quite a few of her books, is she sort of hints at the metaphorical, but with a twist of literal. Like they talk about the haunting of the dad, and you sort of understand it in that the house is just too much of his stuff is there. You know, it's too much memory. But there's always that twist of very matter-of-factly talking about a literal ghost.
Do you think some of that gets lost in translation?
Maybe lost or maybe made. It's hard to say. Some of the reviews for a few of the books I've enjoyed, people have not enjoyed it, and they do blame the translation. But it's not really something I pick up on.
Yeah.
So she's sort of haunted. She has common nightmares about her dad trying to call her, because on the day he died, she was home, and the last time she saw him, he was looking for his phone, which he couldn't find. And she just sort of wonders if he had his phone, would he have tried to call them, or would it have changed things? And so the way
we know how he died. We know how he died.
Yeah, so he died. He was a musician. He was a keyboardist, and he was having an affair. And the woman he was having an affair with drove them out to a woods, like quite a famous forest, which we'll talk about in a bit, and basically shot him and her.
Oh, wow.
So what is unclear is that if it was a murder or a suicide pact. And that's kind of where the family are left in like this disarray and not knowing what it was. But also discovering that he was having an affair and that he died. And so it's quite a quiet story in terms of plot. Yeah. It's not that it's thin, it's just, the quiet life. There's I think there's a lot of description of foods.
Not such a bad thing. Yeah,
she does start to get to know the manager of a venue that the father would play at a lot.
Right, okay.
And it initially seemed like a sort of younger relationship, not filling the void of her father, but this guy could talk about her father in a way no one else could, because it was like a friend and colleague.
Yeah.
They do start romancing and they do hook up. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that, knowing that she's still reeling, but it's done pretty tenderly, and it doesn't feel like exploitative or anything. It just feels, that's part of the life they are. I won't really give spoilers towards the end, but it's not an explosive ending. It's more about like the themes of the book. Like the mother and daughter relationship is probably the heart of it.
Yeah.
Because the mother is trying to begin a life as her own person, who's now no longer a wife, and the daughter's trying to get to know her as a woman, but not as her mother, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But she's also trying to find her own place. Like this is the first time she's lived away from home herself.
Yeah.
Her mother's just
especially that culture, you taking into consideration the way that they live and the hierarchical nature of their society.
Right. So they do get on pretty well. She's not like that nagging mother, or any times where she does, it's kind of played off as comedy.
But out there, the women are very much homestead, aren't they?
Well, the mother certainly is in this case. You know, not that her purpose was her husband, but she had a role.
Yeah, exactly. So to suddenly have that purpose taken away from you, plus losing the person that gave that purpose, must be like a massive central theme of it, I would.
Yeah, absolutely, and it does play out quite nicely. And there's even moments where the daughter realizes that the mother is doing better than she is. Like she's starting to have hobbies in her life, and she's sort of not necessarily stuck, but that she's dealing with her own depression. And it's that fine line of solitude and loneliness that the characters tend, which is what I really like about it. Yeah, it's definitely worth a read if you like. I guess your dramas. Yeah, this is probably my favorite of her. Like I said, I did a bit of research, and it's quite interesting. Like the title Moshi Moshi, it's sort of a double play in this, I suppose, because it's how you answer the phone initially.
Yeah.
And it kind of loosely translates to "I'm listening, I'm speaking."
Yeah.
But there's like a folklore behind it that ghosts or spirits can't say "mushi mushi." So when you're saying "mushi mushi," you're basically saying, "I'm a real person. I'm not a ghost." And it's kind of down in time through that, which has a nice play in this book, obviously, because you know, she's always kind of looking for her father's phone as a way of closure, and the semi-real, semi-metaphorical haunting of her father.
Wicked.
Yeah, it's strange that it can float around that melancholy world so much, but be such an enjoy to read, and it never really feels heavy. I guess you always kind of feel or know that they're gonna come out brighter, just because of the way it's written. Yeah, that's kind of most I have to write about that. I really enjoyed this one. This is like a.
Well, it certainly sounds good. I read a book that sounds kind of similar to that, but I don't know if I've got it here. I think it's called Tokyo Junction. And that was about a homeless guy, or a family man who gets sacked from his job and loses all purpose in life. So he deserts the family and goes and becomes a homeless person in a park in Tokyo. And it's just about class and that's quite good. It's very good. Oh, maybe it was Onio Station or something like that.
Okay,
but I like that slow pace, that sort of, and it's nice to spend time in that sort of culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she does a pretty good job of making you know that you're in Japan. Sometimes I don't know if you ever read books that are, you know, you forget that you're in another country and you're just picturing America sometimes. Even when they told you the description isn't enough to spread you out. That's something she's pretty good at, is, you know, painting her hometown, I suppose.
Yeah, no, I do like books where they can paint a good atmosphere and put you, really ground you in the environment that the narrative's being told in. Stephen King does that relatively well, but it's America, so you kind of probably he is the person that I base all of my scenarios on for other books that I read, because I've read so many of his.
Hey, we're going to wrap it up around there, and thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. Join us again next episode, and until then, support your local bookstore and have a great day.